Welcome to the Maneuver Podcast. I'm Marc.
And I'm Mike. We're two very busy, two hardworking dads trying to immerse ourselves into Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
So busy that we
Can't read my lines.
If this is your first time listening in the sometimes short form Star Wars podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away.
Hey guys, what do you get when you mix a bunch of bounty hunters and tropical fruit?
No
A mango fat.
Wah, wah. Oh, yeah. So this is our show, Ralph. Welcome to the Whole Maneuver Podcast.
I'm familiar with the
head.
show, but I'm not sure about this week's joke. It's fine. It's fine.
That's the premise of the show. The joke sucks.
Yeah.
Time.
The joke is supposed to suck.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome, Ralph. If you guys haven't listened or watched or listened to live action Star Wars, that's where Ralph is coming from, amongst many other shows. We welcome him to our show this week.
Welcome.
But
thanks, guys.
And if you haven't checked out that show, check out Ralph's show too.
I've been podcasting. Yeah, I've been podcasting since 2006, and
yes.
I got to be honest with you, live action Star Wars might be, I'm going to say top 2 of my favorite shows that I've done. It's a ton of fun.
Awesome.
I'll never say what number 1 is, but let's just say it's somewhere in the top 2. So yeah, it's funny. And the thing is, like, Andor's so good, I don't mind talking about it again and again.
And again.
Yeah. So, like, what we usually do on the show is we'll talk about news, and then go into the episode. But this week, it kind of worked out this week, I guess, that the news is kind of tangentially connected to something that we all love, and something that you podcasted about for a while, with this kind of quote unquote secret Star Wars film that Damon Lindelof is going to be working on, and then Sharmeen Obaidi-Chinoy is the director for it. And at least for what I saw about it, is that it's supposed to be set like after the sequel trilogy events, which is good. That this seems like at least the first thing that they've announced that's supposed to be set like in that era.
I thought Taika was supposed to be movies. After that, his show.
I don't know when his thing is supposed to be set.
I thought his was a movie, and it's supposed to be like something crazy, like outside of the norm.
Yeah. He doesn't even know. So.
Yeah. I don't even know if they've started shooting his yet, but
he's still trying to get Natalie Portman to be in it.
Yeah, that's fine. This should be interesting to see, like, how this goes as far as like what he'll do with this, as far as like what he writes for the story. He's kind of put his like finger a little bit in like a bunch of different like major sci-fi stuff now at this point, between like the like Alien franchise with Prometheus, and then with the newer Star Trek films. So I'll be curious to see what he does. I'm a fan of like all the stuff that Damon Lindelof has worked on. So if this ends up, making it all the way to the finish line, and it actually hits like a movie theater screen, or if at some point it gets segued to a Disney Plus screen instead, then I'll watch it. And I'm pretty sure I know that you two will too.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll pretty much watch any Star Wars if it's live action. I still need to catch up on episode 2 of Visions, and I'll probably wait for Tales of the Jedi once Andor is done. But as far as this go, I like David Lindelof. I didn't see The Leftovers, but I love Lost. I podcasted about Lost back in 2006. Watchmen was phenomenal. Watchmen's terrific. I like Prometheus. I'm one of the people that like Prometheus, and kind of I sort of got it a little bit more. I'm not to sound pretentious, but I understood what was going on in that movie maybe a little bit more than the average viewer. Like once you kind of pick up some clues in that, it's a completely different movie.
Yeah,
which I can, I don't know. I would love to get into a discussion about Prometheus, but I don't think we're here for that.
Yeah. Maybe we can do that as like a tangent podcast sometime.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to drop that in the show notes right now. I'm going to plop that in at the end to talk about Prometheus.
Like, is there anything that you guys specifically want to like see him like put into this movie, if knowing where it's supposed to be set, or anything you want to see in it?
I'm glad it's moving forward in the timeline. I'm not the biggest prequel lover, just because, like, if we know the fate of the characters already, it's not as thrilling. I think that's why I'm excited about the Ahsoka series, because we don't know where Ahsoka ends up, and we don't know where the crew of the Ghost end up. So that's nice. Yeah. So I'm glad that they're moving beyond the Skywalker timeline. I mean, I like Force Awakens. I like Rise of Skywalker. And I like J.J. Abrams. But I don't know if the mystery box thing fits in Star Wars, or it shouldn't really. It's supposed Star Wars was kind of like these Flash Gordon adventures, and Flash Gordon adventures are very cut and dry, good guys, bad guys, some sort of in between characters that you're not sure of, and it's an adventure. And I don't think it was really ever set up to be a mystery box. You know, we weren't wondering who Darth Vader was in Star Wars, but we found out there was a twist. And I feel like once he got the Force Awakens, he was like, well, who's Rey's parents? Like, we shouldn't be having to worry about that.
Or at least have a better payoff, in my opinion.
Like, what happened to Luke and stuff. Like, I just like a straightforward, here are your characters. You understand they're like a broad archetype, and then you just go on an adventure. So with Damon Lindelof, a lot of his stuff that he does is sort of shrouded around like mystery. And what's great about him is he can write ensemble, which is my favorite thing. Is so we can get a lot of good characters that'll interact real nicely. So I'm looking forward to that aspect. I think the characters will be good. I don't need a crazy mystery in Star Wars, unless it's set up like if he's just like flat out like taking the genre of a mystery, like if he does something like it's kind of what George Lucas did with Episode 2 with Obi-Wan, going on a mystery, going out and detecting and stuff. So, but I just want Star Wars to be fun. I like Solo. I thought that movie was awesome because it was just a fun adventure. Yeah.
Underrated, undervalued in the Star Wars world.
Yeah.
But most of that has Disney cramming it out and making people mad. I think it got a bad rap because of that.
But, I'm fine with Disney. Disney's been putting out good stuff. I mean,
oh yeah, me too. I'm just saying, when Solo came out, the main complaint I always heard was
it came out too soon.
Yeah, they were just like they moved it up to make money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I do like that it came out on Star Wars Day, aka May 25th. Orthodox Star Wars Day, I should say. Orthodox Star Wars Day. So, but yeah, I mean, everything surrounding Solo, it just made me happy. You know, if you're gonna recast Han Solo, like, they did a good job. Lando's great. Everyone's great. It was a prequel, but it was still fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well a lot. And speaking of Solo, but better way to segue to Vactor's Solo review segment than right now in the podcast and video. And we will take you there now via Wayne's World segue. All right. And Vactor, this is where you're supposed to be talking right now. So if you're watching this in the video, remove this part and put in your part.
Remove that. You're going to remove this part?
Yeah, this. Yeah,
So
so
this is
you
where
can
we
say
can talk
whatever
about
you want right
Vactor.
now, because yeah. So right now you can say whatever you want, and Vactor will remove it, unless he wants to place it at the very end as like a Easter egg thing, I guess. Um,
He
Hey,
could just
Justin.
come on and be like, "These guys suck," and then come back.
Oh yeah, Vactor here again with another review of Andor. I want to say that this episode was a nice continuation of the Andor plotline, seeing what's going on in the prison and the corruption of the Empire, seeing that, they're kind of locking up people for no reason, why people hate them in the galaxy, and why we need them to take them out in Rogue One. So I was loving every storyline in this episode. This show continues to hit on all cylinders. I cannot be more pleased. Andor is probably my favorite show on TV right now. All right, back to the Holdo crew.
all right, and that was Vactor's review of the episode. Hopefully, whatever he said was
Just outlandish. Just,
yeah.
can't believe you said that.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't watch his part of these videos, or do I? He'll never know. But yeah, this week, while we're talking about the 8th episode of Andor, which was called Narkina 5, it was directed by Toby Haynes and it was written by Bo Gulliman. And then I guess before we really get into it, do like a quick round table of Ralph
Round
first, then
robin.
Mike. Yeah, round robin of what was your overall thoughts of the episode, and what did you like best from it?
Who are you starting with?
Yeah, Ralph, you go first.
All right. Yeah. I mean, listen, this show has been absolutely amazing. Anyone who watches live action Star Wars knows that me and my co-host James have just been gushing week after week. It just everything about it feels like Star Wars for grown-ups, or I guess more like adults, in the fact that there's not really a lot of flash. It's a lot of
Right.
dialogue. It's a lot of character intrigue. It's a lot of sort of, there's a lot of political things involved, and I'm not necessarily saying political in a a modern day sense. I'm just saying there's a lot of moving pieces. It's a chessboard, and there's all these players. And what I liked about this episode is all of those players are starting to come together, especially with Dedra and Cyril, and Mon Mothma and stuff. They're all starting to everyone's starting to really come together. I know we're getting another season after this, but even seeing Saw Gerrera, it's bringing us closer towards Rogue One territory. I mean, we still have 4 more episodes and then a whole second season.
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah. So, this episode, it's really starting to, things are all starting to come together. Once that heist happened, it seemed like the whole galaxy woke up.
Right. Which is what Luthen wanted.
Everyone, when we got here, when we started, everyone was kind of settled, but now it's like the Empire's on the move. They're scrambling to get things done. The Rebel Alliance is now out there and noticed, and so they're scrambling to get things done. And we all know what it's heading towards, which is Star Wars, 1977. So it's this whole thing has just been this kind of slow burn, but in the best possible way. Our biggest action scene this week was Bix running for 5 seconds
right
down a street.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all you need, because the tension everywhere else is so insane. Every scene, you're just I don't know what's going to happen. The stuff I'm just going to go on and on about this show because I love it so much. But the stuff in the prison was intense, intense. And then you have Mon Mothma and her husband, and that's tense because she has the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders, and also trying to deal with the marriage that's troubled. It's a lot. Being married, you know how it is. It's not just, oh cool, I'm married now, life's gonna be easy breezy.
Everything's the same. Oh no, it's not.
Yeah, so like it's just all this pressure on everybody's shoulders. And even though you have people like Mon Mothma and Lothan and Saw Gerrera all have this stuff on their shoulders, like they still can't all come to agreement. They can't form this. They're not forming an alliance, which is what they need to do to kind of relieve the pressure. Right. And so they feel like the galaxy's, hardworking dads.
They know their lines, though. I'll give them that.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
I echo a lot of what Ralph said. It's just I didn't know where they were going to go after the heist, and I remember Marc, you telling me that I forgot who you said it was, like saying this episode was a reset of the series. And if this was a reset, it's like, man, did they reset it in such a good way, and it made it that much better. I didn't know where they were going to go with Cassian's thing. I thought part of me was thinking they were going to just kind of write him off for a couple episodes. But the prison scenes were just intense and just interesting to me. Because like the guy said it right away, you'll notice it's clean here. And I'm just like, what's he getting at? And then the whole floor thing was just like, holy hell.
Yeah.
The interweaving stories and how they're all starting to kind of go on a path towards each other again it's just the way they've done it has been so good and brilliant. It just makes me want to watch it over and over and over again. And it's one of those shows where I can do that. Doing a lot of movie reviews and show reviews, there's a lot out there where like I gotta watch it again because I missed something, and it just feels like homework. But this show just feels like an adventure I just can't get off of. Like, just love it that much. And this episode just brought it up higher. I was just very intrigued what they're going on, what they're gonna do. I feel like I'm analyzing every little bit and piece. Like, we'll talk about it later. Marva's stuff, some stuff with Marva. So anytime something's said, I'm like, is that going to come back? Is that going to come back? Like, I'm just so into this show, and this episode just reinforced it. So just great all around. And I don't even care if they just don't bring back anyone that from Rogue One or future series. It's like it could be a standalone project you wouldn't even know.
Yeah. I think that's helping the show too. I think that's what's helping the show is that because they're not bringing in a whole lot of cameos, that no one feels like their favorite character is getting treated poorly.
Right.
Like everybody's fair game on the show because they're not really. I mean, the biggest character we have is cameo-wise is Saw Gerrera this week. And then Mon Mothma, who was in the original trilogy for all but like 20 seconds.
Right.
And she was cut from episode 3. She had one episode in Rebels. And it's like, so at least that's a character that you can't really, I don't read the books, but I'm sure she's in the books a lot more. But it's as far as like live action Star Wars, like it's a character that needs to be explored. And so it's kind of there's not a lot of things in here where you don't have expectations like you do with what you think Boba Fett is before going into the series, what you think Princess Leia is before going into the Obi-Wan series. Like you when you come into a whole new set of characters, you don't have many expectations, and so you aren't like disappointed.
Right.
It's what I'm saying with the Damon Lindelof movie, like the fact that it's being set in the future past the Skywalker saga, that's going to be exciting because we're not going to be messing with characters that you love. I mean, they could bring back characters, but they're not going to bring back someone that we know is dead in the future.
Right.
So it's going to be exciting, and I'm sure there'll be some
which is that point's pretty good with this, because in Andor we only know of the few who are in Rogue One their end game, like where they end up. The rest is fair game. They could die, they could go somewhere else and do something. Like that's just adds to the intrigue.
Yeah, like Luthen, no idea. He can still be alive for all we know.
Yeah.
Mon Mothma, she's not going to die because she's in Return of the Jedi. Saw Gerrera, we know when he dies. In Andor, we know when he dies. But the cool thing about Andor is we only get bits and pieces in Rogue One. of Andor, of who he is. We meet him and he's just shooting some dude who seems to be an ally. He just shoots him in cold blood. That's how we're introduced to that character. And I don't think we've gotten to that point in his character yet where he's going to do that.
No.
We started this show off with him killing 2 police officers by accident, and he regrets it deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And
Skeen is the only one he really kills, but there was a purpose behind it.
Right. And that's the thing. That's the part of his arc where we're getting to that point where Skeen really wasn't a friend of his, and he was trying to rub out the other 2 people and take the money and run. Like, he was a real a-hole.
Right.
So Andor felt, that's part of his arc, he felt a little less guilty about that kill. So we got to get to the point where he's like, I don't even care about this guy. I'm just going to shoot him just because he may or may not rat me out.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, kind of like what you guys are saying too. Like, this episode has felt the most like an ensemble kind of episode with, I feel like, pretty much every character that we've been introduced to this season was also in this episode too. So,
it's like that chess thing. They're setting up the pieces.
Yeah, everyone's getting closer to being with each other.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed too a lot with you guys both talking about Rogue One and this show was that one of the inmates that was in his group of the people that were like making like the machinery with him, I had thought looked familiar, and then I realized it's the same actor that played a character with the same exact name, Melchi, in Rogue One. So I'm assuming it's supposed to be the same character. So that has me kind of curious now to see, as Sylvie curious about it as well, where like that'll go possibly, and because I'm not sure if we'll see him for like the rest of like this series, or if like goes off after like maybe like this little part of the storyline, and then
it makes it feel like the third act of this one, whereas the first one was the last one was the heist, was sort of, we all knew that was going to be the climax of that 3 story arc. I feel like a prison break is the one
just gonna
for
say
this
that.
3 story arc. So I'm thinking next week we'll have a prison break, and Melchi, I think Melchi will be integral to that.
I kind of joked about it, but I had said to Mike, like off mic, that I had thought Andy Serkis' character Kino Loy. At first, I was like, "Oh, is this supposed to be kind of like Snoke pre-Dark Side shenanigans?" Like initially, which I guess it definitely
still could be.
But
I always thought Snoke was made up by the Emperor.
Yeah,
because he's supposed to be like like deformed, like off-brand clones of Palpatine, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, based on what we've seen in Bad Batch, Mandalorian, and Rise of Skywalker, you can kind of put the pieces together that the cloners were always trying to make more Palpatines, and possibly that's where Rey's parents came from, and that's where Snoke came from. Because we see Snoke in Bad Batch, right? Omega's looking up at a thing and it looks like Snoke, or there's something that looks an awful lot like Snoke.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was
in Mandalorian too. So
yeah, we definitely saw something that kind of looked like Snoke in Mando.
So for everyone who likes to joke about somehow Palpatine returned, like they're telling us how Palpatine returned.
Right.
The reason they had Grogu and why they wanted to get Grogu, I'm assuming because he had a high metachlorine a high metachlorine count to be able to get enough metachlorines to create someone on Palpatine's level.
Right.
So, I mean, we're Lost fans, so we like to fill in the gaps. Who knows, who knows what their intentions are with the storyline, but it feels like that's it.
Yeah. So. He was great in this as the character that he was playing.
Yeah,
character is definitely a real douche, though.
I'd be
Right.
curious to know how long he's been in there because they tell him how much time he's got left. So
Yeah, when 249 shifts is like not a long time left. He's been in there for a while.
yeah, it's just he's just
Gotten to the
used to it and
point.
he's trying
He's
to
like
get out.
running the
Like,
floor.
yeah,
He's running
Yeah.
the floor. He's worked his way up in the ranks, even though these guys are all like sort of fending for themselves.
Mhm.
He's taken it upon himself to fall in line and start, taking control of this prison thing. And I'm assuming once he gets out, his big reward is going to be you get to sign up with the Empire.
Yeah.
Or go back to
I
prison.
could see them putting. I could see them season 2 putting him in an Imperial officer outfit, or even worse, one of those like chef outfits from a couple episodes ago where they were catering. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see, like, I would like either way. He would be a really great Imperial officer, but it would be really fun to see him get put to like the bottom of the food chain.
I
Yeah,
think
that would
that's
be
more
fun.
like what's going to happen at the bottom of the food chain.
And if he
Like,
does that, would he turn into and rebel against the Empire
right.
after all his hard work?
Yeah, that could be interesting to see that too. And then, like, I'm assuming like what they're building there is either stuff that's like just for like maybe like for TIE fighters, or like a bunch of like crafts like that, or maybe it's like stuff they're gonna need to put together the Death Star, which would be kind of interesting too.
I feel like at this point in time, we're about 5 years. We're 5 years away from Rogue One, which is when they start testing the weapon.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should be farther along, especially after what we saw in Episode 3,
They
because
got they got that frame built quick at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
The Geonosians between the time Dooku got the plans to the time that they had that frame, the frame built for the Death Star. I feel like we're farther along on the Death Star, because by the time we get to Rogue One, the only thing they need to do is finish the gun. They're
Yeah.
installing the super laser. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's Death Star parts.
I don't know.
I
It
think
kind
it
of
looks
looked
like
like
TIE fighter wings.
Yeah.
it kind of looked like if you remember Saving Private Ryan, the World War One, the stuff on the beach that they put up. It
Oh
was just
yeah.
like cross
Oh,
gear, like
those
whatever they're called.
what do they call those? Dragon teeth? No,
I
they're
have no
shore
idea.
breakers.
Something
I
like
know what you're
that.
talking about, though.
Just something like
Yeah.
to slow someone down. But I don't know, or bombs of some kind. But
Yeah. And
Something.
then like we also saw like when like Cassian and they were all standing in like those different kind of levels, like
there's
in
something
those
going on
hallways.
for sure.
Yeah, with like the kind of like sign language, or like hand
Between
gestures
the two
to
floors.
each level.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that was the Melshi dude too, right?
No,
I
it
think that
was
was
I don't
No,
think
I think it was.
so.
But I like that
okay.
no matter where Cassian runs, like Marva said a couple episodes ago, or it might have been last episode, like no matter where you run, like Rebellion's gonna follow you.
Right.
And of course he gets caught up in this prison thing and he's smack dab in the middle of a prisoner rebellion. Or it
Yeah,
appears to be. I'm
Mhm.
assuming. We all have to assume it's about a prison break.
Yeah,
Because
that's where my mind is.
he's got 6 years in prison and we're 5 BBY. So he's not going to be
yeah,
in prison until after he dies on Scarif. So he's there's a prison break happening.
Something's going on, that's for sure. Because they wouldn't show him in prison if it wasn't like part of the plot for like the end game. It would have just been like he was in prison and then all of a sudden he's out of prison. There's so
Yeah.
it's got to be a prison break, which would
I
be
liked how
awesome.
much I liked how much of like a THX 1138 kind of vibe was going on there too, with at least like how the like set and production design was
Mhm.
within
Stark
in
white
like
and then
yeah, like and like their jumpsuits with just like the orange and the white on that too.
Mhm.
the bare
But
feet.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of that too, like this whole episode had way more kind of like visual reference wise to like what George Lucas already kind of based the Empire on, with like being Nazis and whatnot, because the whole like them having like all, taking together all their shoes and whatnot, and then they're like all like in this room together, and like you see it's like a
referencing
shower,
a gas chamber.
yeah, but that's what I mean. That's what I got the idea, or I
It was
felt
definitely a
like that's
strange
what the
scene.
idea was supposed to be at that point. But yeah, just like
Missed.
all of that was kind of, it's definitely very close visually trying to
Part of
put
me
that in there as
thought
well.
in that scene that it was supposed to be more, and like it was just broken, so they didn't care. It's like, this is your shower. Oh, it's mist. Great.
Just a fine mist.
Put your
You almost
clothes
got to
on.
see
Go to
Andy
work.
Serkis's butt crack too.
Highlights.
I didn't see it. Have people been
Well,
screenshotting it?
well, no, like you almost see it,
Almost.
but then Cassian's shoulder.
Have we had a butt crack in Star Wars?
If we're
I don't
gonna
think
get
we
it,
have.
it's gonna be in this series.
Dexter, maybe Dexter Jetster. We see him pull up his pants.
Yeah, you see
And
his
then there's that,
plumber's
like-
crack on that.
Yeah, there's like that like naked one-eyed monster in Canto Bite that's in the bathing house.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be it's not, unprecedented, I think.
That would be fun. But yeah.
Oh, and then that giant space pig in Force Awakens. That's when you see his whole butt. And almost his butthole.
Right up in Finn's face.
Ugh, that water. Those boots though, the boots that
I have a note in there
the
about that
Reebok
too.
the Reebok pumps looking good. They're like the least stylish boots. I'm like, that's really weird.
Yeah.
When they walked in them, and I was like, oh well, they made the other guys take their shoes off, so something's up. And when they all got shocked, it looked painful.
It looked painful,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like if you watch Cassian, his like movements, I just kind of laughed. His pantomime of being shocked was just kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then like his hand touched it too, so like he got like double that shock.
Yeah, he like closed the connection.
Yeah, going through his body. So can't. And then like when that dude essentially like commits suicide by like going on the floor, that's the floor that's lava, and there's like he railed it, and then the people complaining that they're essentially
Oh, we're gonna smell him all night.
Yeah, smelled like his burnt flesh. But it's like
I was
damn.
like,
And
I
I'm
guess
also
that's what prison
assuming-
does to you.
But that
I'm also
chatter
assuming-
with them saying like, who was it this time? Like it's clear that this is like a normal thing that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they mentioned when they first get there. That guy was late because he was cleaning someone up or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the whole like way that system is set up too is definitely almost built in a way to more tear you down mentally than physically, and just kind of break you so that you don't try to do anything outside of just make this, go lay down.
I want to
Eat
know
your food tube.
your food too. How long the old man on table 5 is going to last? I feel like something's coming down with him that's going to maybe incite the prison riot. I don't know.
That dude's our like fourth guy from Star Wars in Batman '89.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been he looked familiar, so I definitely had to look that up after that.
He's in the Guardians. He's sort of the guy that's bartering with Star-Lord at the beginning.
Yeah, I remember that. He's got more makeup on his face in the video. I remember.
Yeah, and then he creates the Lilu in Fifth Element. He's the doctor in that. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but I know him as the dude that says, "Who are you?" And then Batman says, "I'm Batman." He's that guy. But yeah, Porkins, Lando, and Biggs are all in Batman '89.
Oh wow! And now this guy too.
This guy too.
Oh yeah, 'cause you said that, Mike. You said that you had laughed at Oh, great. We have to.
Yeah, it was
smell
just
him all
it caught me off guard. With the guy just like annoyed he has to smell a dead body all night, and I snickered at it. I'm like, I shouldn't be laughing at this. Felt bad that I laughed at that.
Uh, in these scenes too, I like that like in these past episodes especially that we're getting like this very synthy
80s 80s gold music.
Tron Blade Runner esque kind of
Yeah.
music, like just because like
The
I can't not never really like heard that before in Star Wars, but I don't I'm not like really mad at it.
No, it's definitely setting a mood, it's setting atmosphere. It's it's more electronic than usual for Star
Yeah,
Wars. Nicholas Brittle has been doing a great job. A lot of stuff going on in this score for this episode where you're getting sort of a weird like detuned, like out of tune, like sound, like it almost sounds like a warped record or something.
Right.
Like it's
yeah,
really adding this unease to everything. Um, a lot of times when you have like Clea or Cyril like walking in the sort of airport area, it's a very rhythmic sort of normal sort of tempo, and it's like kind of makes you feel easy. Like we've all been in an airport, we know what that's like. So it's very normal, but all the stuff with the prison and even some of the stuff with Mon Mothma has this weird warping sound to it that makes you feel like, okay, I'm uneasy, I'm out of my element. And so the music has just been like, it may not be in your face John Williams or Ludwig Göransson or any of these other composers that have been doing these shows, but it's definitely setting a mood for
yeah,
sure. And I like the direction. I like that this show doesn't feel like it has to be sort of in the Star Wars mold. And I think that's what was great about Rogue One is Rogue One was the first Star Wars movie that didn't have a crawl. It was the majority of it was shot handheld. It had like chyrons on the bottom that said, the names of planets and stuff. So like I like that Tony Gilroy is kind of leaning more into like we're going to distance ourselves a little bit from Star Wars so that we can tell unique, fresh stories instead of rehashing, good guy, bad guy, fight of the week, character cameo of the week. Again, no action in this episode. And it's still like incredibly intriguing to me.
Yeah, agree 100% with that.
and if you guys want to hear more with Ralph talk about music, check out Cue the Music.
Cue the music. Listen, that may or may not be in my top 2 favorite shows that I've ever done. For those of you that for those of you that like Michael Giacchino, I just did a conversation with him about Werewolf by Night, and I think it turned out really well, other than stupid video glitches that of course happens when I have the Academy Award winning composer on. But we don't talk about Star Wars.
Speaking of Rogue One score.
Yeah.
But yeah, check that out too, guys. If you like talking about music score, Ralph does, or we do. But
it's all me. That's the crazy thing is that's the one show where I don't have a co-host, and so I'm out there like promoting it like crazy because if I don't, no one else will. At least with live action Star Wars, I have James to sort of like do like early morning posts for our episodes and stuff, and he really helps out with like social media and all that stuff. But with Cue the Music, man, I'm on my own. There's no one else helping me out there, so I'm super proud of it. I've grown a lot as far as like podcasting because of this show. It's
really good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks. I really like that interview with Michael. Not to toot my own horn.
Yeah, you should check it out, Mike. It's good.
I can do that because I do enjoy the music.
If you do watch it, you'll find out a certain Easter egg. It's this guy. I'm an Easter egg in Werewolf by Night in the MCU.
Oh man.
Thanks to Michael. So, and we talk about that on the episode. So that was pretty fun.
Excellent. No, I'll check it out. Because I've been trying to figure out how to get. I want to do a music episode on this one. I've been emailing people trying to get guests just because the Star Wars music is so iconic. You have to kind of talk about it at some point.
Yeah, just hit me. Just hit me up. I'll do it. I'll drop of the hat. I'll do
it. Yeah. Well, so we will put that on a calendar because we'll definitely do like a Star Wars music episode. Well, I know we'll get back to talking the episode in a second, but I know we're gonna have you on again in December. I don't know if Mike talked his family into going to Batu yet instead of
not yet. Not with the recent price hike at Disney
and Diagon Alley. But I'm definitely going to Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim. Mike,
have you haven't been?
I have never been there. My friend Stanford got me this hat from there like when it first opened, but I have never been there yet.
Nope, neither have I. Gotta go.
But
I want to give you advice. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. I have a very specific way, a very specific route that everybody should take going into Galaxy's Edge. It essentially starts in Critter Country, keep on going. Once you hit the marketplace, take the lower path and go around Droid Depot. It's all Marc, hit me up before you show up.
right.
Maybe I can get in there and just give you a little tour. But it's I say this to everybody who hasn't been to Galaxy's Edge. I know that you've seen the pictures of the Millennium Falcon. I know you've seen all your friends in front of the Millennium Falcon and you're jealous. And you're like, I can't wait to see the Millennium Falcon so that I could get my picture. Listen, nothing will prepare you for what it feels like to see the Millennium Falcon in person. And even with me telling you that, if you don't tear up, you're some kind of droid. Because
I think droids would cry.
Every single time I go, and if you go the route I told you, it is the most wonderful reveal. And I've taken, like, I have friends who are Star Wars fans who are sort of kind of over it all. And my friend was pushing a stroller, talking to his kid. He looked up and it was like, oh, wow. And it just like, you could see it hit him like a wave. My brother-in-law, who's in his 50s, could not believe he saw R2-D2 in real life. I have a picture of him with the biggest smile on his face. He's a retired police sergeant. He's seen everything. He's seen every awful thing you can imagine.
Right.
And to see the pure joy just from seeing R2-D2 was it's great. But man, dude, when you see that Falcon, Marc, make sure you have some space tissues with you, because dude, it's nuts. It is nuts. It's because it's Disney. Disney does things a specific way. Like, have you been to the Hogwarts? I'm sorry, I'm bad with Harry Potter. You've been to Wizarding World?
Yeah, I've been to the Universal Hollywood Wizarding World.
Yeah, and so like with Universal Studios, because it's a studio, it's okay if you see like studio like structures beyond the tree line and stuff. Like, you understand it's Universal Studios. It's supposed to be like you're in the movies. So you'll see some things like a tram or something that's not Harry Potter related. The way they set up Galaxy's Edge, if you do the walk from Critter Country, it gives you enough time to slowly get immersed, because it's probably like 100-yard walk of just Critter Country to forest, and then you'll see like droid tracks, and then all of a sudden the light poles, they don't look like regular light poles, and it's a slow reveal. And so it gives you time to kind of get in the headspace, knowing that, okay, I'm walking into Star Wars. This is the first time I'm going to be in the world of Star Wars. If you go in through Frontierland, one of the two entrances from Frontierland, it's just like you go under a tunnel and bam, you're in Star Wars. It's like a ton of bricks. But taking that slow walk from Critter Country at Hungry Bear and just sort of slowly soaking it all in, and then you see an X-wing, and you're like, oh, and it builds. You get this sort of build to your experience, and man alive, I can't, anytime someone says something about Disney, I'm like, yeah, Disney's, corporation, whatever, blah blah blah, JPEG sucks, all this stuff. Yes, we all know, but what they've done with Star Wars for Galaxy's Edge is phenomenal. Like, whatever you say about Last Jedi, whatever you say about Rise of Skywalker, who cares? Galaxy's Edge is amazing. And Rise of the Resistance, always go on that second. Always go on that second. Go on the Smugglers one first. Yeah, it's not as crazy. So it'll be a little anticlimactic if you do it the other way around. But man, I'll give you all the pointers. I'm sure I have. I can copy and paste all of this stuff. But
we already have our reservation set up for the cantina, and the only one that was available was like a 9 a.m. one. I think I've said it on here, but I was like, yeah, so morning drinking.
They have non-alcoholic. They have some breakfast items, maybe like a cinnamon roll, stuff like that.
Okay.
You might be able to get another reservation. Maybe the day. Just go. I've gone in the morning.
Yeah, we're gonna try
to. My wife made a lightsaber on her birthday, and I cried during that.
Yeah, we made a reservation for Patrick to make one.
Yeah,
I would make one, but I'm just gonna watch him do it because I feel like
you're gonna bawl your eyes out
from it. Yeah, well,
you're
gonna
bawl your eyes
out anyway with anything related to him anyway. So, I want to get like the non like plastic toy version of the Anakin Luke. It's like a legacy saber now because like so many different characters have used it, but I would like to get like that. Yeah, that one. I'd like to get that at the park. So I was like, if I'm gonna spend that much on a lightsaber, I was like, I'd rather get that one that I've wanted for such a long period of time, watch my son build his own, and then that way I kind of get to experience both things. Nice.
Sounds good.
I saw that they're also gonna have
Qui-Gon.
Dooku and Qui-Gon's.
I'm fired up a Qui-Gon. I need to see how that looks.
The cheap plastic version of Qui-Gon's in the other room too.
From that first like Force Friday or whatever it's called.
Yeah. And like side note, that's like why Patrick's middle name is Liam, because it's supposed to be a very subtle Star Wars reference. Oh man. Oh yeah, that Rey one is really cool too.
But here's the thing with the Rey one, and I did a review of this. They put I don't know if you could see that. They put the switch right there. In the movie,
and it doesn't
this cog.
Oh yeah.
The Hasbro version, the light actually shines through here, and when you flip this cog, it flashes blue, then green, and then ignites the yellow like in the movie. So this one's pretty cool, but the one on Hasbro is the one to get. And then I have one more to show off, and that's the Mace Windu. This is a park one.
But it doesn't say BAMF on it.
I looked, I don't, it would be an Arabesh, and I don't know where it is on the real prop, but I don't think it's on there. I don't think it's on there.
It's one of a kind.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask Sam Jackson when you talk to him.
Yeah. Well, when I talk to him all the time, when I talk to him,
yeah,
I'll have to hit him up.
Just call him up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and that's going to be that'll be a fun episode of this, just to like recount, and I'm hoping that you get to go to the one in Florida too, Mike, when you're in Florida.
Hopeful. I'm planting the seeds.
Have you not been? You haven't been, Mike?
Have not.
Listen, guys, I'm almost jealous. I'm almost jealous of you guys.
He wants to go back.
You haven't yet to go see the Millennium Falcon for the first time.
Yeah,
the first time I saw it, I started weeping. Yeah. I was standing there weeping. I was like, "This is nuts!" Like, because I mean, the Millennium Falcon, it's not even my favorite Star Wars ship, but it's so iconic. You never think that you're going to be standing face to face with it, and you go up and you can get that same view that Han Solo first does in Solo, when he walks up and looks underneath the cockpit in the junkyard, and it's like, that's me now. I'm Han Solo. More like Chewbacca though, I guess.
Or what is it? Black for Stanson?
Yeah.
How you?
Do you remember that? I put
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I put a picture of Black Chrysanthemum's face in here, and no one could see it. And I said, "Zoom in," and he zoomed in, and it was totally disguised in my beard.
I'll have to send that to Mike so he can see. But yeah, it's kind of a weird way to segue back into it. But I guess kind of like round out into this. I liked we got with the stuff, more of the stuff that we saw with Cyril. Not Cyril. Cyril. Cyril loves Cyril in this, and like him back and forth with Dedra. And I feel like at least that theory that I had with him is like going more and more away, where like maybe that he was going to end up joining the rebellion, because I felt like he could go really either way. But after this episode, it feels like he really wants to be on that path to be like within like the ranks of the Empire, and like essentially be like the right hand man to Dedra at some point. Where can almost see that by like the end of this season, where like he and her are like maybe working together to try to get Cassian, and what all that might happen.
I can see that, but I can also see her being like, "You're kind of useless," based on when he got to read the report, and she was like, "Well, what's missing?" And he's like, it was a gray cloak." Like, okay, there's a lot of gray cloaks out there. He wore dark boots. Okay, a lot of dark boots out there. And just like she kind of felt like, in my interpretation was like, okay, you don't know what you really, as much as you say you do, other than his name and what he looked like. And she kind of got the sense like she felt he was more useless. So
then he said, I recognize his voice if I were to hear it again.
Yeah, for Luthen.
It could be total BS, but it's something where she can't like,
she won't
it.
Yeah. I just feel there's going to be some friction there, and Cyril's going to be on his own island, but wanting to be in the Empire not wanting him, wanting to get Cassian. He's going to have his own thing, and it's going to be his demise. Like, I don't see Cyril making it to season 2.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
I do.
And then
I think he might.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm curious to like see in general like where like his whole story is gonna end at that point. And then
or like Blevin will do something with him.
Yeah,
promise him something that Dedra didn't.
And then we saw that like Vel and Cinta are on Ferrix, so apparently Cinta got off of Aldhani.
Everyone just gets off these planets under such scrutiny, and like no questions.
Well, I feel like Luthen was able to get on and off of Aldhani, so I'm assuming since she's now on Coruscant, or she was on Coruscant, that she was at the airport too, right? Vel
went to she was at the airport.
So it could have been, she could have been going there or whatever. I don't know, but it's one of those things where it's like we can fill the gaps, you know. Yeah. If Luthen can come and go onto that planet, but I mean, it is going to be under more security. They did have a Star Destroyer there the last time we saw her. So,
and one thing that we talked about last episode that was kind of hit home more in this one is Vel might be like Luthen's daughter. Because it's kind of, Cinta makes a comment like, we all don't come from money or something like that when she's talking about staying on Ferrix. There's some little quip she makes about Vel's past that kind of like, oh, maybe she is Luthen's kid or something. Because it was like their relationship.
I feel like she definitely could be.
It'll be interesting to see that play out a little more.
Interesting.
But the other stuff that we saw in Ferrix too, like we saw, I don't remember what the character's name was, but the
coal miner-esque type dude.
Yeah. Like Cassian was talking to in the first episode. We saw a little bit more like with him, and then like when they go back to like Marva's, and like she seemingly looks like she's like sick. And that like her So I'm assuming like she like during this time that like Cassian's like imprisoned, like she's gonna be getting more and more sick during this time, and he'll like find out that maybe like she passes away while
Mhm.
he's there, and that like maybe emboldens him more to because he won't know like the full story of it, so that like embolden him like a little bit more to like become part of like the
Mhm.
rebellion, and kind of like take up what he knew that why she had to stay there.
Right.
So think that could be interesting depending on how that goes with that as well. And I did like that we finally uh saw saw
You
in
saw a
this.
scene. You saw him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we saw some of like the other characters that are part of like his whole crew,
Yeah. That
like
establishing
his
shot with two
yeah.
tubes and the X-wing. That's pretty
Yeah, oh
cool.
yeah. It was like yeah, I liked seeing that there. Like is that the first time we've seen like a black paint job X-Wing?
I mean, like other than Pose, yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, yeah, opposed like being black and orange, I guess. Um,
Yeah,
and
but
that
yeah, it was an interesting look.
and that the Emperor definitely likes building all of their or having a lot of underwater type bases.
I always want to know why they build everything underwater, just to hide it. I guess like everything's underwater. Just seems
Yeah,
like they're not learning.
Well, yeah, because this would be 5 years after Obi-Wan as well too. So like, oh, you remember that time that Jedi broke into
Broke the
the
window.
Inquisitorius and broke the window, and that or have you? How far are you in the Jedi Fallen Order game, Ralph?
oh boy, I don't know how far I am. I remember going back to Kashyyyk, where the Empire was mining sap from the trees, and then I kind of stalled out after that. I there if there's a water thing, I haven't done it yet.
Okay. I think that's where Saw is too, is because I remember him showing
Yeah,
up
I remember seeing
in
Saw.
Kashyyyk in that game.
Yeah, he shows up there,
It's all over
and
the place.
yeah,
Man gets around.
yeah.
But I think that's as far as like what I wanted to bring up with from this episode. Was there anything else that you guys that we haven't touched on at all that you'd want to speak on or bring up at all before we like wrap up
Saw's
and close out?
distrust in Luthen, just like want to explore that more. Because
Uh,
like he comes to him like, I want to meet this guy. I'll give you this stuff for free if you let me meet him. And Saw's just like, I don't think so. You're not in my brand right now.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
because we're already
Luthen's
seeing
trying
like
to be a scalpel
Mhm.
and Saw's being a brick. You know,
yeah,
it's not, yeah, two different ideals, two different ways of going about,
Right.
you know.
he's getting closer and closer to that lies, deception.
Yeah, where's he
Era.
going to get his lungs all jacked up? Are we going to see that? Do we need to see it? Because I don't think he has the
I'm not.
breather in this episode.
No, he was
I'm not.
fine. Well,
I'm not going to say
relatively.
anything because I know where he gets that.
Oh, is it from Jedi Fallen Order?
It might be. It might be from someone else too.
So it
Sure.
is. Okay.
I do like, just because like everyone knows, kind of like Forrest Whitaker's got that, um, going on with his eye. How they gave Saw like a scar like over like that eye and like over his face, so like it gives like an in-universe reason
Right.
for that. Um, what's
It's like
his
Indy. It's
character?
like Indy with the whip.
Oh yeah, with having the scar on his chin. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, his character is interesting from like the point of like once they did cast Forrest Whitaker in Rogue One, essentially like how they've now worked his character in through all this other stuff between like Bad Batch and Rebels
Yeah.
and the video game and books and then this, and like you see different instances like where he's got his hair like really grown out, where he's bald, where it's a little bit grown out, where he's got scars on his face, where
Yeah.
he's got breathing apparatus. So you almost have to like fall. And then like when he first showed up in Clone Wars, like way back, he looked different just because like they didn't know Force
Yeah.
Whitaker was going to play him. So, but that's an interesting character. Like if you go through and just like follow like their storyline, like even him like showing up initially in Clone Wars, he's kind of almost kind of already a much less heightened version of like where he ends up, but he's already got that temperament and that kind of distrusting uh, nature before any of this other stuff happens. So it's kind of cool to see that progression of his character too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed this. I'm eager to see, because with this episode and like the last one, it's not as clear cut like what the next episode is kind of going to be for the arc. It's not as clear cut of Act One, Act Two, Act Three as it was for those first 6 episodes or so. So
I'm hoping for Prison Break.
It's
'cause
coming.
we have 3 episodes left. So I'm wondering if these last 3 are going to be like a Act One, Act Two, Act Three, or if this next one. I think I had saw that like 8 and 9 were supposed to be paired together, kind of as like a story, and then the last 2,
That would make
or
sense.
10, 11, 12 would be
3. Yeah.
together. So I'm really enjoying the show, much like you guys have said already too. So I am excited to see more of it as well. But with that, I think I'll wrap this up for this
One
episode
last
of
thing, we didn't
Maneuver.
talk about him.
All right.
Perrin.
What?
I think he's gonna like inadvertently out Mon somehow. Because like he's in there for a reason. And
her daughter, she was given her mom's friend some stink eye, side eye. Yeah,
they're gonna something's gonna happen there. Like he's gonna have to be taken out because of his overall being a knob.
Yeah.
He needs to be tossed out a window.
Yeah. Nacho Libre, he's a real douche. But yeah, I hope of all the characters that don't make it to the end of season 1, that he is one of the characters that doesn't make it to the end of season 1.
100%.
Number 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, if we have to choose one character that doesn't make it to season 2, Chris Tucker looks out the window and he's like, he's not going to be in Andor season 2. That's what it's going to be. But yeah. So with that, that's going to do it for this episode of The Hold Maneuver. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, do all the normal stuff, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell stuff. If you're listening to us on a podcatcher of your choice, like whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a review there. It helps us out immensely. And then you can find us on social media and all those places, the link tree and all those links for both our individual and all the other handles. Those are all
there
right there in the show notes. Makes it easy to click on there. Yeah, Vactor stuff's there too. And I'm going to put Ralph's stuff there for you as well too. But Ralph, I mean, I guess we've already kind of said a few places where they can find. Where's like the main hub where they can find your stuff online?
Oh, that's easy. Just go to casinoskunk.com.
Casinoskunk.com.
Yeah,
I'll have all my shows. Yeah.
But
and it's easy to remember. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can email us at holdthepod@gmail.com. And we thank you again, Ralph, for joining in this.
Yes, thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Great chat.
And now you'll get to experience Mike say this after I say this. So, as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Oh dear, thank the maker.